daughter is a Star Wars serious person. I really think she's, of the first three, she's seen each one 300 times.
We need to have quiet back in the other room, please.
Quiet on the set.
The auteur theory of film actually is very true if you know directors, because they are very much like their movies. And in the case of somebody who writes and directs, it is my life. I mean, everything I write is my life. I'm not writing some sort of hypothetical thesis on something. I'm writing a story that I have to get extremely emotionally involved in because it's going to take 2 or 3 years of my life to do it. So I can't just sort of say, oh, this will be fun and knock it off in a week. I have to, this is like a marriage. This goes on, you have to be in love with this thing for at least 4 or 5 years and probably for the rest of your life. Well, I would say in the end that this is set.
Yeah, we've got one little piece of wall. Yes. Oh,
Yeah.
2 pieces of wall maybe. Yes.
And then this is you guys.
Mm-hmm.
This is real. And this is real. Real. Not so real. Not so real. Not so real. Real. This is gonna be tricky. Not so real. Not so real. Real. Not so real. Dude, this stuff like crazy. I was feeling so good about my ability to do this, and then I screwed it up. I know this is gonna work. I know it's gonna work because it's impossible. We're pushing the envelope in a few places, but the biggest issue is volume. I mean, just the amount of stuff.
Yes.
And of course, that's the part that creates the world. Jar Jar is a key to all this. If we get Jar Jar working, because he's a funnier character than we've ever had in any of the movies before.
Well, the thing that's really big here is in the big grass planet battle there, the zillions of creatures. We don't have a real good way of doing that right now. So that's where some real innovation.
Yeah, I know, but that is the challenge.
Exactly. That's
the set piece.
Yeah.
The whole thing is how are you going to top the pod race? Yeah, because it's pretty intense. They'll be exhausted by the time they end the pod race. They'll be ready to go home. But the thing is that we can top the pod race with this incredible Jedi battle that we've always heard about in the last 3 movies but never really got to see. And then that with Anakin, kind of duplicating the Luke Skywalker role, but you see the echo of where it all is going to go. And instead of destroying the Death Star, he destroys the ship that controls the robots. Again, it's like poetry, so if they rhyme. Every stanza kind of rhymes with the last one. Hopefully it'll work. Watch your finger.
Or you'll become permanently part of the model.
That ought to do it.
So if you can do the other one just like that, and then paint this, and then just glue them right
glue them
there.
right down.
Yeah. And I'll
Okay.
take them just like that.
I can't show you the backpack right now. It'll be something like that.
And that looks pretty good.
Right now we got a actual leg, got a thigh, a calf, and a foot getting ready to go to England.
I went through with Jeff the pod race, so they're going to start. Joe and he are going to really do a serious breakdown on. Because I know George won't let the pod race out yet, but they'll start working on dust, movement, speed, blurring.
Are you going to the screen tomorrow?
No, I go to New York tomorrow.
Oh.
I'm gonna fly to New York and then show Natalie the script. Everything's set, but it's a bold idea to have an actress commit to 3 movies without reading a single line of dialogue. So I thought we'd be better. She'd be a lot happier if she knew and save her.
Anakin is a little boy who lives with his mother. Morning.
Hi.
How are you doing?
Hi, guys. Hi.
All right. This is Natalie, who is otherwise known as Padme. We were just discussing where we were in the scene. In a little shop that sells used spaceship parts.
All right, Michael. Your first stop.
You've never met each other, so this is the first time you've ever said anything to each other.
Let me know when it's good for you, David.
All right, roll picture and sound.
Speed. Okay. Action.
Are you an angel?
What?
An angel. I've heard the deep space pilots talk about them. They live on the moons of Aiko, I think. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe. Are you an angel?
What?
An angel. I've heard the deep space pilots talk about them. They live on the moons of Aiko, I think.
Scene 1, take 1.
And action.
Are you an angel?
What?
An angel. They're the most beautiful creatures in the universe. They're so good and kind. They make even the most hardened spice pirates cry.
I've never heard of angels before.
Scene 1, take 2.
Are you an angel?
What?
An angel.
Never heard of angels before.
You must be one. Maybe you just don't know it.
Scene 1, take 3.
You can see the difference between the two kids. One is going to move the production along a lot faster.
There's so many
And the other one, I have to just
There's so many
do a zillion takes and then cut the performance. But the performance sort of rises way above what the other one does. Because it's so unpredictable and it's kind of
have to go.
unstudied.
Will I ever see you again?
Thanks for bringing that
I hope so.
Who'd you choose?
I like Jake. Because he seems more natural. I mean, I like his body language.
It's just not trained. And this one just hits the beats.
Yeah, I was gonna say some people audition real well.
Okay, I'm looking around, and charge. Look toward camera. Look, see if you can sort of look behind you as he goes. That's good. That's a good turn. Okay. Ride, and look behind him. Look forward. Make those quick moves. You look back, then forward. Yeah, that's better. Okay. More abrupt. Okay, that's good.
He's getting kind of quick at this. And
Yes,
he's
he
been
is.
practicing.
Wow.
You're signed.
We're very proud of you, Jake.
And
Very
handwriting
proud.
too, very
So,
good, Jake.
what's it been like? You've been telling all your friends you're leaving for Star Wars, huh?
The only thing I said was I'm going away for the summer to film Star Wars. And then all these hands raised up for questions.
So what kind of questions did they ask you?
Also, how come it takes 2 years to film? Because they didn't hear me right, that I'm only taking three and a half months.
Did you tell him why it's going to take so long for it to come out? With the special effects and stuff?
Yeah, that's what I said. It was going to take them because of the special effects.
Do you know how much money they're going to spend to make this movie?
Probably over $50,000.
They're definitely going to spend $50,000.
Camera. Okay, we'll take
tip.
There we go.
I'm cool.
Basically, what we've done is we've taken over the Rolls-Royce factory, which has about 850,000 square feet, and we've converted it into stage space. Right now, we have 600 people working for us. We're building sets on 3 shifts, 24 hours a day.
This is amazing right here.
Just one of our battle droids, actually.
Oh,
Look at this. This is the new Stormtrooper.
Oh,
This is our new Stormtrooper.
But in a way, he's the old model, replaced by Star Wars being the new Stormtrooper.
Yeah, because what you don't realize is that these guys really are not very efficient. These things, Jedi cut them down like they're butter, and they really are pretty useless.
Yeah, pretty useless with the old dangleweed here.
Yeah, so, no, that's his hand.
Oh, sorry. These droids, they can't get the physiology right. There we go. Oh.
And so what happens in the end is they all join forces and everything, and the Gungas battle the droids in this huge kind of war and peace battle, like literally War and Peace. I mean, it's huge. 10,000 troops on either
On
side.
both sides coming at each other.
Coming at each other.
That's great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
It's going to be great.
That's going to be great.
The way I work is the first thing I'll do is I'll go and I'll shoot a wide shot. I'll just set the camera up in the corner. I'm not going to relentlessly go down and lay out the storyboards or everything exactly what's going to happen, because I want to, on the day when I see that wide shot play itself out in the set.
I take it you say action after we roll camera?
I'll say action.
You don't.
Sometimes I forget.
People forget.
If I forget to say action or cut, just step in and say action and cut. I manage action and cut and faster and more intense. And then mostly I sit there looking miserable and quiet.
Is this him?
Yeah, he's looking a bit lame at the moment. Polyphone.
It'll be slightly warm inside that, isn't it?
A bit moist.
It feels disgusting. What is that material?
Silicone.
Silicon. It's a Cinderella moment. It fits. I shall marry the prince.
Right, does that feel painful anyway? More painful than normal? If you try and do this might not work.
Okay.
Right, so it might dig in as well.
Okay.
Okay, close, open, close. Now, if you open your mouth as if you're doing exaggerated dialogue, does it work?
Exaggerated dialogue.
Oh, yes. It kind of moves. Yeah.
Some people pay huge amounts of money to have a woman put them in this kind of thing.
Yeah, well, not me, sadly.
And then tell them what to do.
Okay, try it again. Big mouth.
Exaggerated dialogue.
How are we going to start? What are we going to do? If I put my producer hat on, then it's purely, I don't care how we get this done. I don't care who pays for it. I got to somehow get my movie made. And our budget is $50 million. That's how much money we have. It's...
Well, George, the sentiments that you express, I am not unsympathetic with. I think you can agree that we're not really fat on how much time goes into animating a particular thing or building a particular creature or environment.
So Judith and I looked at every single pod race shot. I think we had the 14-minute version of it. And we identified the environments that we would apply. To do EB Crater, we've got 19,000 to create that environment.
But I mean, there's $600,000 worth of pods. Then you actually have to do the shots.
Which was 16 million, right? So
where is the thing there that breaks down how much it costs per shot to fly a pod?
Hi, Steve. My name is Rick McCallum. I'm the producer of Star Wars. Do you know where I can reach you in now?
And we're making some very aggressive, taking some very aggressive positions on, okay, well, we're just going to have to be able to animate the full face on Jar Jar in 2 weeks.
Brilliant. All right, my dear. Take care. Bye. Fantastic. All right. He's going to call any minute. You just put me through into this meeting? Okay.
Listen, I have a reputation as a troublemaker back at ILM, always being...
Thank God you do.
That's why you're here.
Exactly.
Okay, so, listen, I'm doing my damnedest to figure out, well, how do we even do a shot like this? And okay, well, these are the techniques I think they're going to be the most bang for the buck, and, geez, well, you just have to be able to animate that in 2 weeks. And
the real point is how can we manage to change the operating procedures in a way that we can completely revolutionize the way we make movies so that this is all doable? Because it's not just that we have to do it for this picture, we have to do it for 2 more pictures, and also if this picture works, then everybody else will want it done for their picture. And what are we going to do? I mean, nobody can afford to do it at these prices, so.
Hello? Dude, I'm so f***ing happy. This is just, it's brilliant. I'm so happy. George is so happy. It's just fantastic. Listen, I saw Liam on Sunday in Prague, and I told him we were getting closer and closer, and he was so thrilled. I mean, really, really happy. We all are. It's going to be fantastic. I mean, it's going to be a great movie. It's going to be a lot of fun, but it's also, I think, going to be so worthwhile.
This is my daughter,
How are you?
Katie.
Hello, Katie.
That's my son, Jet.
Hi, Jet. How are
This
you?
is Janie, her
Hi.
assistant.
How are you? All right.
And your name?
Ewan.
Ewan. Who are you going to be in the movie? Are you
The young Obi-Wan, I think.
Yeah.
I hope.
You know what we're going to do? We're going to buzz his hair just like yours.
Are we ready?
Are we ready?
Are we sure that this isn't a terrible mistake?
Are you scared to death?
Oh no, I'm really looking forward to it. I love
What if my dad decides that he wants her hair longer
If he
again?
decides he wants it longer, then he can wear the wig
Sorry?
and play the part. It's thick, you see, Scottish hair. It really grows in really thick and tight.
Oh.
Thickest hair in the world. Highlanders.
Quite like that length.
It's nice that it stands up.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't look like he has been to a barber shop at all. The most difficult part is to not go too far, just go strange enough.
Yeah.
That's the biggest trap people fall into in these kinds of movies, is they go too far.
How about that much?
That's fine. Don't get any more though, Katie.
Is it just will it just be braided at the top part?
I sort of think it's better if it's braided all the way down. In essence, it's a symbol of a learner. It's got to have, you know, when we wrap the bottom of it, if we do wrap it, we could wrap it actually in little colored threads. There's got to be some significance in maybe that wrapping of how many years where you are in the training process.
Yeah.
Well, as a rough start, I think that's a good length. I do think we should rehearse some sword fighting and stuff with and see what happens, how far they. We don't want them to get in the way.
Nice, huh?
My name is Ahmed. I play Jar Jar.
Julie's going to be dressing you.
Ah.
He's going to be.
We're pursuing the idea of doing the Jar Jar body on the set and the head in the digital. Depends on how they do that suit.
You want to walk through this, Jeff?
Here is the
sad news.
Well,
but interesting news.
At first glance, we might think there's a large chunk to be saved from Jar Jar in a suit, but looking at all the shots that he's in, which is 461, the difference of the approach we would take without a suit versus doing a suit is about $1.3 million.
Well, $1 million saved is $1 million earned.
It's a bit sticky.
Are the ears going to be on that too?
No, they don't want ears. Ahmed's going to be put through a whole series of movements.
Oh, really?
Yes, I mean the works, so that they have everything they can possibly try to track. So if the suit gets damaged, don't worry about it.
Hello, do you know if you've got this Jar Jar's reached you yet? If Ahmed's come
The guy we got has got a great walk and everything, and when he translated into Jar Jar, it was great.
The thing is, though, one of the things that could make this thing the most special thing in the world is that it is a pure CG character.
But what we're trying to do in the end is speed up the animation. We have the guy anyway. We're shooting the guy anyway. So if you have the guy in the suit, it costs you the aggravation of how does he stand it in the suit, the wear and tear in the suit, does it look good? Yeah, no, I know, but at this end, that's all that stuff. But what you gain is that there are moments where he interacts with humans and everything, which cut costs very fast.
One of the purposes of this, well, the purpose of this test is to see what the head attachment is really going to be like, and it's been brought up as a concern that we may need to have some additional tracking marks further out because we have to match the shoulders as well to actually do that blend, so that as there's some shoulder movement, we need to be replicating that so that our blend actually blends. So the important thing to get data on is around the neckline and potentially around the shoulders too.
And when you walk, because now we're going to be in a wide figure, again, you know, the sort of loose arms that kind of don't have much in them.
John knows this movement, Jeff.
Yeah, that's Will's trying to take care of this one.
Turn over, please. And speed in.
And plot down. Yeah, look around, kind of. Okay, now look at the camera, and you see something. Oh my gosh. Okay, but that looks good actually.
Yeah, it's pretty amusing actually.
You sort of
imagine filling in the space.
Yeah, you sort of fill in the space and sort of look at it without your glasses. It looks pretty good.
One more than lunch, huh? One more with feeling. That's just done that, isn't it? You have to be careful, because if they turn on when you're doing this.
Jedi.
Darth Vader's was lilac. It's not blue.
Right. I thought his was always red. And
oh, red.
And
but the other
Luke
one.
Skywalker's was kind of blue.
Yeah, but it's just off blue.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, there you go.
Yeah, here they are. Have a look in here.
Oh, you bastard.
There's something to show you.
Which one's this?
So these look nice. That's the one I've been finding.
Is that the one
you like?
Not too bad.
I've been waiting for this for weeks. I've been thinking, every morning I say, I wonder if it's today I'll get to choose. No, that's nice because those hit your home.
I mean, that might be a good one for Liam because he's taller.
You like the black? I can tell you like the black one.
There's something nice about that.
Yeah, it is quite stylish.
No, shut up.
This is my favourite one.
That's the one.
Yeah, thought you might pick that one.
That's its favourite for hanging, and that's what we're fighting with, isn't it?
I know, we're fighting with that, and it's this, but
you never see that.
And also, in terms of length, which is important also, isn't it? Although the popular belief is that length doesn't matter.
Colour does.
But that's all right.
Yeah. How's it with a little 12, though?
Clear the area.
Just so you don't do things.
Clear the area.
That's all right.
Catches a light.
It's got like little buttons on it.
Should have that one there.
That's the one, isn't it? I think that's my one.
I think that is nice, that one. Hey! Congratulations.
This is about Darth Vader when he's a young boy. Yeah, this is when he's a good boy. And then what happens to him? He joins the film business.
This is it.
Cool. This is it. The beginning. I can't believe it.
And after this meeting, I'll finish writing the script.
I'll start with me. I'm Rick. I'm the producer.
Hi, Rick.
I'm George. I'm responsible for all of this.
I'm Natalie, and I'm playing Amidala.
I'm Pranilla. I'm playing Shmi or Shmai. Have we decided?
It's officially
I'm Jake, and I'm playing Anakin Skywalker. Mom, I'm home.
Yes, of course.
Oh my, Annie, what's this?
These are all my friends, Mom.
This is Jar Jar Binks.
And our droid R2-D2.
An extremely well put together little droid. Without a doubt, it saved the ship as well as our lives.
Master Yoda said I should be mindful of the future.
But not at the expense of the moment. Be mindful of the living force, my young Padawan.
Yes, my master.
These junk dealers must have a weakness of some kind.
Gambling. Everything here revolves around betting on those awful races.
Promise me you'll train the boy. He is the chosen one.
Yes, master.
Always two there are. No more, no less. A master and an apprentice.
But which one was destroyed? The master or the apprentice?
This is roll 1B backup tape of Star Wars: The Beginning. This is an HHB Portat, DT1000, 48 kilohertz, camera running 24 frames a second.
Right, I'm off the set.
All right, we're going to get that shot ready now. So you don't need to be standing around on the platform. Move on. Thank you.
I mean, you're resetting.
Good. Good morning. How are you? Look good today?
Quiet on stage. Ready, Trevor? Turn over.
Speed.
Good luck, everybody. Now let's kick ass. 77, take one.
And action.
Everything is going as planned. The Republic will soon be in my control.
Ready.
And action.
Yes,
an odd pretty item,
Don't look at me. I don't know what's going on.
Still in this area here, please.
And save that little bit of direct light for when he goes forward. Yeah, so he, we'll do it when he comes into here to kind of do her. He'll be able to catch. He won't come that close to her.
Your Majesty, there is little chance the Senate will act on the invasion.
Chancellor Valorum seems to think there is hope.
If I may say so, Your Majesty, the Chancellor has little real power. He has been mired by baseless accusations of corruption.
Okay, cut.
That's a wrap, thanks very much. First shot tomorrow looks towards the desk area, so props would actually appreciate if you had to dress the table tonight.
Thank you.
Yeah, you were terrific.
Open the doors a minute, please.
I'll see everybody tomorrow.
Okay. Good night.
Night, guys. Thanks very much.
Right. We're going to leave the Pinocchio until the end of the day. And, I'm hoping I can really cut through this scene. She's great. Natalie
great.
is fantastic.
And Ian.
She just, it all came together. She was perfect, I only had to do 2 takes. She really had it down. She was great. Just great.
And Ian, I
I'm
thought
very
was
excited.
lovely.
Well, Ian's always great. I mean, he's reliable. But I had no idea what was going to happen with her.
So what we're doing now is you on this level. Right,
Oh, no, have I just grabbed
you
onto
grabbed
it?
onto it.
Oh, right.
So you fell off there, hit that, rolled over and managed to hold onto it. Pull yourself back onto that level and look as though you're about to do a Superman from there to here.
Good.
What we're trying to find out is the best way to have you actually bounce yourself onto there in a graceful Jedi-like move.
Yeah.
66 Echo, take 1 A and B cameras. Come on, Mark. And action!
Okay, cut.
Cut it.
The problem with doing it that way, guys, is you can actually see that he bounces on something.
Okay.
Big bounce.
You can't avoid the bounce, can we? No.
Yeah, so get a plank, just a scaffold plank, and we'll push you. Throw you up into it. Get your feet on there now.
Here we go. 166 Echo, take 5 A and B cameras. Come on, Mark.
And action.
3, 2, 1, go.
Okay, great. Cut. Print that.
Good.
Take more time with that elbow. Hop. Yeah.
Don't make us up.
Planting. Back. Yeah, good. Nice, that was it.
Quiet, please.
That's good there. And action.
Do you want to do Star Wars? They said, I said, do fucking right. Right on set.
Maybe I could do that on camera. Couldn't
Okay, 116, Wally.
That's on the second one.
Turn over. 76 Baker, take 2 A and B cameras.
And action.
I think you have. Why else would you be here?
I can see there's no fooling you, Anakin. You mustn't let anyone know we're here. We're on our way to Coruscant, the central system in the Republic, on a very important mission, and it must be kept secret.
Coruscant?
Cut. Let's try it again.
Ace us
okay.
up, please.
Well, there's some pieces in there. Print that one. Okay, why don't we try one without you dealing with your food so you just can focus on your line.
No, it's not the food that's a problem. It's me always. I'm used to saying Coruscant,
All right.
not Coruscant.
Coruscant. If you mispronounce it, it's okay.
suicide.
No, everybody will start laughing.
Nobody's done that. Go towards the edge on that line.
And it's hard to know exactly where it's gonna trip itself up in a funny kind of way. Because in some stuff, I feel like that emotional scene with his mother, he was like right on the button every single time he did it. You don't quite know what you're gonna get, and it's different every time, and sometimes it's really special, so you don't want to grind it into the ground.
Okay, Jane, take your position, please. Stand by. Put his air back in, please.
Whoa, what are you doing there?
Can you talk without moving your mouth too much, or just so you keep the jaw closed? Try it now.
We are increasing security on all Naboo detention camps.
Fine, try that. It looks okay to me. Stand by.
Okay, first position, prima posizione, si gira, grazie.
Okay.
It is locked off. Thank you.
Stand by.
I feel there's more to this, my master. The two Jedi may be using the Queen for their own purpose.
The main things here are we have the walking hologram generator, which will be added in computer graphics, but it's in front of everybody who's walking. We have a matte painting of Theed City to put back there, and the light fixtures on the wall in the hallway are not what George wants, so we're going to replace them with something else. When the camera pans over to look out this archway, we want to have filled that archway full of tanks and battle droids. So it's a relatively straightforward shot.
See ya. Sugar. Na 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 na. How you doing? It was too hot yesterday.
They said it gets hotter than that.
Yeah. This is Suicide Fortnite, unless you've heard.
How are you doing?
I'm cool for now. Just waiting for it to get hot.
That's about gift of shoe.
The trick part of this is got to be the most difficult one. He won't be here, and neither will Sebulba.
Well, this one then I'll just move in.
Yeah, well.
Okay. I think you're getting smaller.
طب فكرة تمشوا منه تمشوا طول المريوان.
Ready?
I'm ready. I'm born.
Okay. Turn over. 76, George, take 2A camera. Hey, you! That'll be 7 druggets.
Well, I'd say cut.
Cut! Cut! George?
Yeah?
It's only that whip pan, and I guess if you saw him there, then you wouldn't believe he would have gone for the frog, so I would say no vendor, right?
I would say no vendor. We're going to widen up a little bit, but I still don't think you'll see it.
Okay.
No vendor.
Pas de vendeur.
How you doing?
I'm hot.
I can imagine.
But
I'm hot too.
But I'm cool. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I wish I could say the same. Kind of.
It's so hot. My mother's in New York. She feels it.
Especially when it's like this, you mustn't take the fun out of it. The only thing we're all suffering here is the heat. And there's a lot of people who pay to come to this sort of temperature and have a holiday. So if you can just get people to think that this is a temporary break in their holiday for 10 hours or 12 hours, then they'll have a good time.
75-mile-an-hour winds.
We're not sure the road's there.
Do be careful.
They're trying to clean up here on the location. 10-4.
It's just incredible. It's like 4 months work. I mean, the main thing here is not to have panic and everybody just to be running all over the place. I think we have to head up little teams of people and work methodically through it. Otherwise it'll be chaos and people will be just ripping things up.
This is grim. This is seriously grim. But not unthinkably doable.
I think this is going to take all your skills. This is what digital technology is for. It's a tool.
There it is.
Wow, look at that.
I know, that one's...
The engines, look at that. This is fucking grim.
Yeah.
We have Anakin. These are his engines, which play the most crucial part in the movie.
Right.
They're split in two, which doesn't look good. And then this is the scumbag of the universe, and his engines are completely fucked. Yeah, this is heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
Thank God this beauty's okay, though.
Okay, that's understood.
That's amazing that one is the only one that really survived.
Yeah.
It's the Force.
Say again, Rick.
The pods are really badly, so we're going to have to really work hard to get those. I think that's going to have to push that right down to the end of the schedule. Over.
10-4.
And any news on Liam's wig? Is that all taking place? Can we win on this one? Over.
Yeah, Rick, they're trying to clean it up here on the location. But at the moment, we still haven't tracked down Liam's beard.
Check Algeria. Over. It's more for Cass than anybody else. Yeah. We have a charter plane, and we are leaving. And that fucking charter plane, nothing's going to stop us. And if we have to work on our rest day, we're going to have to work on the rest day. Because I don't want them on any level pimping out on us.
Because of all the chaos and everything, we got off to a late start. Hopefully we'll get this next sequence finished, and then we're only about one shot behind. And then we have to rearrange the schedule. But I think we'll go through this all right. Exact same thing happened in Star Wars. It's always something.
Ready, Bernie? Thank you.
Okay.
Here we go. That's right. And turn over, please. Turning over. Speed. 26, George, take 2, A camera.
B camera.
And action.
Okay, you're coming up on Sebulba. Sebulba's ahead of you there. You see him, he's maneuvering, he's flaming, he's exploded somebody in front of you. Coming alongside him, Jake. He's on your left now. Look at him. You're going to beat him, Jake. But he's not going to play fair. He's going to bump you. Bump! Bang! Fist push and stop! Stop! And cut. Okay, Jake Lloyd is finished. Thank you, Jake.
In a few months, we'll come back. We'll have some more fun.
Yeah, okay, you look after yourself, Jakey.
The Jar Jar test. And we shot Ahmed doing a little action here so we could test how well the head replacement thing would work.
Here are 2 different approaches.
Bottom, of course, is the head replacement. Top is a fully animated figure. As it turns out, the fully animated one was actually about half the man-hours of the head replacement.
So we spent $100,000 on that suit that we didn't need to spend.
Well, but the suit is actually extremely useful for, all the time while they were working on that, we were looking at, okay, we've got to get the shadow to match this one better, and this was actually really great lighting and performance reference back at ILM. We do have a lot of people there who are available and ready to do shots. I'd like to get started, even if there's a good chance that some of those shots are going to change. Still, I think we'll have learned something.
The last day of principal photography.
1, 2. I think you're supposed to be more profile-y, looking that way. You're going to go off into that way. The ship's landing down.
We're not framed up at the moment.
No, we're coming down now.
Like Apocalypse Now shot.
All right, let's get ready to shoot this, please.
It's sort of an odd bit as well, Jerome.
Oh, paparazzi. Oh, my God.
We'll get John started off. There'll be a camera, and it'll come across an action when whereupon silence will watch his first line.
Unbelievable, isn't it? 13 weeks later, with all the prep, shooting, and the post-production, it'll be almost 4 years in the making. The first 2 stages have gone remarkably well. It's just whether or not this third one, the most difficult one. But I think everybody's in the right frame of mind.
Ready to shoot.
Stand by to shoot, please.
Speed.
AB and this division camera common marker.
I think we've got a problem with the main reactor. Impossible. Nothing can get through our shield.
Cut it. Cut. That's the end. Thank you very much. The end of the beginning.
Yeah, a lot of these diagonals are really helping.
Yeah, and I put like a little
yeah,
sort of flatter area in there that
helps
could
a lot.
come down. So, how many of these like backgrounds are there? Like, are there like
Well,
a million of them?
Because we're going to all the trouble of making this completely computer-generated environment for hundreds of shots. It's like, well, it should be something that we can't see in the real world. Don't be afraid to push it a bit.
Okay.
Technically, there are quite a number of things that have never been attempted before. Things that were just not possible, still aren't possible. We're still working on them.
Will there be any really heavy stuff in this? Really loud stuff?
Yeah, probably, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guess
Yeah, it should be loud.
Yokoto Bantapudu.
But you could put a little laugh on the end of that one.
SB 309, 310, take 2.
Yokoto Bantapudu.
All right, that was good. We'll try one more with a little bit more anger.
Yokoto Bantapudu.
Yeah.
SB 309, 310, take 3.
Yokoto Bantapudu.
Okay, that's good for me.
Okay.
That looks good.
Okay. I think we can push it a little further. And yeah, I think that's it for me.
So this is for the first view of these droids getting hit. Now we were wondering on this shot, this is incomplete. This does not have lasers and stuff in it yet. The catapult balls that get thrown.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, like, what do they do when they hit the ground?
I think they should be like a big water balloon. They should sort of splatter when they hit.
Are they going to leave a trail behind them then of glowing?
Yeah, let the thing splat when it hits like a water balloon, but then the pieces of it continue to go forward like it does here and knock people over and you know, a big glob of it.
Okay.
It's like Vaseline in the water balloon.
One of the things that we wanted to discuss, this is the animatic for this sequence, and we've started blocking in the actual footage now. So just to revisit what this action currently is. The question is, like this hallway shot here primarily, and just the hallways in general, just making sure that those are working for you.
Yeah, that looks good.
All right, great.
So this one was my select too?
Yeah.
Now, I didn't know if you wanted to make this shot longer to accept that select of yours.
Well, do we have a tighter select?
Funny enough, that's tighter already. I'll look at some other alternatives.
Why don't we try to take the uh-oh from this and the big boomers from the other one?
Okay.
I think it's going to be better.
I agree. Well, let me see that Padaka scene, the one where everybody's sitting down.
I had an idea how we'd do it, but it's turned out to be a little more difficult than I thought, but I'll show you where it's going.
What's the worst of it?
That's going to be tricky. Maybe we can create a shot. So what I want to do is, well, we'll leave this for the time being, and we'll create this other shot, and then if this other shot works, we'll come back to this shot, take Panaka, slip him out of sync so he doesn't start to move. So he just is standing there. Okay? So, see, Panaka's starting to move in this shot. So we split him out and start him here. We'll split it right in front of the pilot. There, just go forward. I want to try that.
That's the left
side. I'm going to do the other thing on the other side. And I want to get just the tail end of Obi-Wan sitting down.
You're resyncing both flanking actors.
Yeah.
Okay. This is cyber directing, right?
Yeah. 3D editing.
Yeah.
There's not enough power to get us to Coruscant. The hyperdrive is leaking.
We'll have to land somewhere and refuel and repair the ship.
Yeah, Master.
All right.
That's better. We got our pace picked up a little bit here. I think I may point in finishing off with Martin. Then I'll come back and we'll do the sword fight.
Okay. Place right after lunch?
Yeah, I'd say 2 o'clock.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll
I'll
see
be
you.
back in a couple hours.
Okay. Well, maybe you got what you wanted there. You got the George, I'm directing here in the editing room sequence, which is what he loves to do, which is change the actors' performances, you know. We've gotten into that. It's gotten into the last 2 weeks a habit of not taking anything for granted. If we can split one actor from one take and put him, you know, resync him with everybody else, we're doing lots of that. That's, to me, I mean, it's fantastic you can do that, but it's opening up a whole world of, you know, I mean, that just multiplies the number of decisions that you can make in a cut. Normally you reject whole shots because one thing is wrong, but now you can keep the good things in that shot and just throw away the bad.
Thing of which, how's he gonna pay for all of this?
I like what you're doing in your face, definitely. You got the personality in there and the blinks, and there's something. Right now, Watto, as we discussed before, is really he's happy. He thinks he's got this guy and he's going to nail him for the full price.
It would be cheaper, I think, huh?
So this is where he's like, so, you're going to give me the big pile of money. So when he says, so how are you going to pay for all this? I think we can even bring him up a little closer to camera. Just float him a little bit more, so we get him a little bit, and he's all smiles.
Public credits? The public credits are no good out here. I need something more real.
I don't have. Tim's is looking great. So I can see you worked on the lip sync?
Yeah, I worked on the lip sync.
His disdain in his face is really great.
Yeah, I was thinking maybe I could scrunch it up a little more, like he's kind of like.
Yeah.
Republic credit, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So
I think you can afford to do that.
Okay.
It is,
I
isn't
said
it?
he's short, but he sure can act.
Round that way.
Round the other way.
Okay?
Do you want Kathy's in or?
Yeah. George, the beginning and the end of this is broad. Okay, so I'm going blind, so you know, some of this.
Confer on you the level of Jedi Knight. The Council does. But agree with your taking this boy as your Padawan learner, I do not.
Qui-Gon believed in him. I believe in Qui-Gon. Now, let's just change it. Let's go in the hands. Yeah. Acting-wise, I'm not showing you. Acting-wise, I'm saving. But now what I'll do is I'll show you the center of it, the middle of it. Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's great, George.
Things are definitely changing.
You don't need me, for God's sake.
We'll always need you.
That's great. That's gonna look perfect.
Stand by. Qui-Gon's defiance I sense in you. Need that, you do not. Agree with you, the Council does. Your apprentice, young Skywalker, will be.
And
going to be an enormous return. I think an enormous amount of people going back, because it's not like you see the film and you know the plot.
Yeah, there's no way to know what's going to happen. You know, we're never going to beat Titanic. Nobody can. I don't think that's...
Can you explain that?
Nobody can. It's one of those things. It just happens. It's like what Star Wars did when it first did it. It defies reality. You just never know on these things. I did More American Graffiti. Made 10 cents.
Really?
Just failed miserably.
Really?
You can do it. You can destroy these things. You know, it is possible.
We have about 350 finished shots now. We're close to a third through the work. Yeah.
You forgot to ask him what we saw on this one. We're pretty sure it's Anakin's head and his shoulders.
Yeah.
All in here.
Right.
This is a bad
okay,
storyboard.
So that's, yeah. All right. So that's the head right there.
Yeah. So I'll just go through the schedule. 13 has been bumped to due next week. 9:25. DEB 290 due 10:23.
All those front views. George's comment the other day was that whenever we cut to Anakin, like in these close-up shots, it's like this on him, and it's the bulb. It's always going back to a wide shot.
TTDB I have scheduled starting 9:28, going high res 10 to due 10:9.
This is one that was supposed to be for the 10-2.
It has the Rontas.
So I'm going to try and push that forward.
Well, I don't think we can do it by 10-2 because I think we're ready to do the Queen ship and all its landing gears without any reference to the model.
Okay.
Because when the model's not built
Till second week in October.
Right.
So, John, we really need to know whether you have everything you need or whether you need more. The comp is getting, more and more complete, and yet there were no creatures in there, so I just don't want to be surprised when we need to... What I'm most concerned about is the screen left side of the image, whether you need some creatures back there that we haven't provided to you.
AHA 341A.
Yeah, we're going to get Jar Jar all done real soon now.
Supposed to be a little tight.
That's good.
Can be okay? Mm-hmm. All right. Check back. That looks good. All right, you're suited up.
Ready?
Go for it.
Okay, everyone, let's start with a brief warm-up. We're going to start with a stretch. If we can just use your performance, there's no need to keyframe animate it. Where even your character's just sort of standing in the background, you do these great things where you're moving and your hands are like that. If we can capture that, then we don't have to animate them. We can just take those and stick those into different scenes. Start.
So should I start this just by walking this way?
Yeah. Mostly it's a slow realization of what you got connected to.
Yeah.
First it's kind of an annoying, like you stepped in dog doo-doos, and then you realize what it is, and then you try to get away from it.
Right.
You try to run over here, and the cannon itself is not moving very far.
SW1, Chuck Judy JJ 14A, take 1.
And action. All right, good.
Okay, Jeff, you ready?
So I'm going to be operating the Sawzall underneath,
Okay.
which vibrates the whole thing.
Right, so when we start the shot, this should be going. We're shaking. We just need like 2 or 3 seconds of it doing that before bang, fire the charge. And roll camera. No, we weren't getting the big shake here.
Why was it working before?
Let's try a different way. Is everybody ready to go otherwise?
Yeah.
I want to try the handshake approach.
We've got a little bit of work to do ahead of us.
Yeah, I know.
Everybody here? Yeah. Everybody awake?
Will be.
All right. Let's do it.
All right.
It's a little disjointed.
Seems like a lot of short scenes.
It's bold in terms of jerking people around, but I may have gone too far in a few places.
In a space of about 90 seconds, you go from lamenting the death of, a hero, to escape, to slightly comedic with Jar Jar, to Anakin returning with his little kind of tag. It's a lot, and it's a very short time.
boggles the mind. I mean, I've thought about this quite a bit, and the tricky part is you almost can't take any of those pieces out of there now. Because each one kind of takes you to the next place, and you can't jump because you don't know where you are.
You think about the very first Star Wars, sitting in there.
Yeah.
No, I know.
And it starts open, and you don't know what the hell.
I do a particular kind of movie, of which this is consistent, but it is a very hard movie to follow, and at the same time, I've done it a little more extremely than I've ever done in the past. It's stylistically designed to be that way, and you can't undo that, but we can diminish the effects of it. We can slow it down a little bit so that if it's intense for us,
we don't know what
a regular person's going to go nuts. We'll start cracking again tomorrow.
See you tomorrow.
Okay, bye-bye.
Well, I think the color overall is working well. I think you just pull some of this real rich oranges right up in here. Then let's just concentrate on the wrinkles.
To me, just you give it the squint test, and it's the contrast between the eye and the lid that's a really high contrast. Actually, it looks really nice. So does that mean changing the model, or is that the talus we're running through?
We're close enough to the wall. There's not much we can do to change the talus.
Where's number 2 going, dude? Number 2, just poke it up through the cockpit.
Go ahead and pull it back.
Camera. Speed. Fire.
All right, see you guys tomorrow.
All right, Sean.
Hi, John.
On the pod race, we're doing an entire 10-minute sequence. All you're seeing are completely computer-generated landscapes, and it's kind of a difficult thing to do. As it is in the picture, there's always something you're looking at in the foreground. It's not really about the background, so. But
I've heard this speech before.
Well, no, but I mean, I think that the landscapes look
doing a
pretty
remarkably
good
good
by
job.
themselves. So anyway, just so you see what the shots feel like with something in there, even though what's in there is pretty temporary.
Looks good to me.
I've seen enough tests now that I'm comfortable that that's going to work.
Pods look good.
Well, they'll be better in their final forms.
Remember, in the end, John, you're not looking at the background. You're not watching the pods. You're listening to the music. Yeah, because there's a lot of clashing and banging and Ben Bird in there.
Yeah.
So if we're going between takes and stuff, it'll be hidden pretty well.
The only concern that one might have is that you may want a version without the chorus, but I don't know if you even want to contemplate
I
that.
love the chorus.
It gives it that churchy.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's going to work. I mean, you didn't realize this, but it really goes into the third film very well, and it's. I think it'll be an important thing to reprise. I mean, that definitely has the quality of the inevitable fate of doom, with larger hands at work.
Chorus, 1 second, Sean. Oh, we have pitch, please. And quiet with the pages. 33, 1, 2, sing. And see if we can have the sound less disturbed by still improved intonation. You'll hear a lot of beating in that. I will take it, please.
6M7 new, take 106.
The little old lady reel.
Yeah, this is where there's the big knock at the projection booth door with the umbrella handle.
Young man, what do you think you're doing up there? You're gonna blast all ears out. I think it could be reasonably extreme. You know,
It goes from, even the pass-by shots go from
Oh,
no sound to loudest
Yeah.
sound you ever heard to no sound within the same shot.
Well, see what you can do with it and see what
Okay,
happens.
ready, set.
Here.
Get your ears ready, kind of starts.
Quietly. When Sebulba comes right up behind Anakin, it's almost like the Sebulba sound should be, when it can go up and down, but it should always be there. Now it's there when you see it, it's not there when you don't. But you want to build that tension of the fact that it's right on his tail there, and if you don't hear it, you don't really get the sense that it's right there all the time, and it's going to eat him up.
Yeah.
You know, and if anything, that giant sound should be getting bigger and bigger during the whole thing as he's, you know, struggling to stay ahead of him.
It's a nice rhythm.
Because that's the thing that you're afraid of, is the fact that that guy's just going to push him.
Yeah.
You know, the engine's going to come right over and right into his head. It's come a long way over the last 2 years, that little sequence.
It's not a little sequence anymore.
The Phantom Menace opens at midnight.
Place in the Star Wars line.
People started lining up over a month ago.
All right, get out your lightsabers.
You just may have noticed that Star Wars, the latest episode, opens nationally at midnight tonight.
The hype surrounding this movie has been overwhelming. Now the question is, will it deliver?
They're about to open the doors here in just a few minutes, and people are revved
Some
up.
2.2 million Americans were in New York tonight.
It's like 1977. I haven't felt this since 1977.
Episode 2, man. Episode 2, brother. Episode 2. All right. It's just beginning, man. It's just an ending.
This is fucking awesome.
The new episode, episode 1, starts 30 some odd years before episode 4, which was the original Star Wars. Ever since the success of Star Wars, I decided I would go back and tell the backstory of how everybody got there. Because the tricky part of his...
The films are serials. They are designed, ultimately, to be seen as one big 12-hour film. And in that, there are sections and chapters that actually express the story of a family.
The part for me that was the most revealing was when I first saw some film, and especially film of the desert in Tunisia. I said, oh, I'm back. The characters were standing there, and it was Star Wars. I mean, we were back there, and it was exactly the same, and it was just like those 20 years had never elapsed. It was pretty amazing.
The difference with this Star Wars is, it's part of a body of work that's been, was conceived many years ago, and 3 films were made, 17, 18, almost 20 years ago. It's kind of become mythic already, that we're stepping into shoes in order to be another piece of this jigsaw puzzle that is Star Wars.
Because of what Star Wars movies meant to me when I was a kid, I was about 5 or 6 when the first one came out, so they're more than just movies to me.
The story starts out on the planet of Naboo, which has been blockaded by the Trade Federation. There's speculation in the Queen's Palace of what this means. One of the senators speculates that it means that they're going to invade.
Communications disruption can mean only one thing: invasion.
I will not condone a course of action that will lead us to war.
In episode 1 of Star Wars, I play Queen Amidala. She's very powerful and she is in control of everyone, yet she's a very good leader.
Our people are dying, Senator. We must do something quickly to stop the Federation.
She doesn't act for her own good and for her own quest for power. She really tries to do the best for her people. So I think it's a role model really for everyone, and it would be good for young girls to see. I have many beautiful, beautiful costumes. There's so many changes for me because a queen can't wear the same outfit twice.
They're familiar with it because it's Star Wars, the same world. It's the same world is what it is, with new characters, or younger characters. But it's great. It's the same kind of fairy tale characters, that make it work so well.
Whoops! There's never been a real comic character in any of the Star Wars movies, like just outright comic. The character of Jar Jar, he was banished from his world because he was clumsy. He just didn't fit in with the other Gungans of his world. And I think everybody remembers when they were that kid who just didn't fit in. And I know I was that weird kid who didn't fit into any group. I think all those kids and all those, people who feel like they don't fit in will identify with Jar Jar. He wants to fit in and he wants to be with everybody else and he wants to be good, but he just can't help it. He's just clumsy. You relate to the world, even though these are different creatures and different people. Something about it makes you relate to it. Something about it makes you feel for the characters.
The central issue in the film is that a boy is taken from his mother, and that sort of drives everything.
Well, I'm playing the mother of Anakin, and we have a good relationship, my boy and I. And it's a beautiful part. I love it very much. It's so warm, and I feel very familiar about it because I got 3 kids myself.
Anakin Skywalker is a lot like me. He's really mechanical. He loves to tinker with stuff. He's been a slave in his entire life on Tatooine, and now he has to leave his mom. She's been the only person that's there for him for his entire life. He's never had a father, so I think he was kind of confused on whether to go or to stay.
She's very brave in a way to let him go. She really do believe in him.
Mom, I just can't do it.
That he's gonna take the responsibility of his own life.
Will I ever see you again?
What does your heart tell you?
Cut.
Take the gate, please. Lovely.
George is an expert, and he is one of the world's great storytellers. We were very aware we're part of telling this extraordinary story, and that's, you get a sense of him. It's a very understated expertise he has. Precision and patience, you know?
We're gonna tighten up on Yoda, right? And then we'll tighten up on Sam.
Okay.
You kind of dream about things when you're a young actor and you see things happening, and you wish you could be a part of it. And sometimes, you know, things that you want can happen, and this is one of those kind of dream come true kind of things. I remember actually going to the very first screening of Star Wars in New York City, and I was at the first showing. I was there, I saw it a lot of times after that. I'm a huge fan of the series. The first day was pretty, awesome for me to walk onto a set, looking around at all the people there and the costumes, and then to make it even better, all of a sudden I was there with, Yoda, and the enormity of the situation was everything I thought a Star Wars experience could be. And it never stops. You would think you would get used to it, but I never got used to it.
These movies are so entertaining and people love them and little kids love them and adults love them and it really spans generations.
George's tales, the Star Wars tales, have really tapped into a psyche in the world that modern popular culture has never done before. And to me that says, yes, these films are incredibly well made, but also it's tapping into a void that we have as human beings, that we have kind of lost something. And George provides, these films are providing that great storytelling sense of myth.
Episode 1 takes place about 30-some-odd years before Episode 4, which was the original film.
What is it? Your father's lightsaber. This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight. Not as clumsy or random as a blaster. An elegant weapon for a more civilized age.
I was looking for a kind of sword fighting that was reminiscent of what was in the movies that we'd already done, but a more energized version of it, because we'd actually never seen real Jedis at work. We'd only seen crippled half-droid, half-men, and young boys that had learned from these old people. So to see a Jedi in his prime fighting in the prime of the Jedi, I wanted it to be a much more energetic and faster version of what we've been doing.
So I think he wanted something special. I think he wanted the audience to understand where these Jedis came from, what their powers were, and how sophisticated they were in the art of battle.
The Sith Knights were started by a fallen Jedi Knight who was tempted by the dark side. The secret was that they were patient and they trained and studied, but they didn't make their presence known to anybody until we get to Episode 1 here, where they finally make their move to try to take over the universe.
With this film, the fighting had to be very strong. What I had in mind after watching the first Star Wars films was that you would see that they had studied every single style of swordplay, from epee to kendo. That's what we've gone for. I like that there. That's strong in there, isn't it? You know, kendo movies. Since they had chosen such a short-range weapon, they would have to be so good if they're up against ray guns and lasers. But I think it just needed to be much more gritty than it was, you know, much more scary than it was, much faster and much stronger. They have to be constantly in check. There's no room for error in any of the fights. You won't see it because they're so fast, but if you slowed them down and freeze-framed them, they can only parry there or they can only attack there. The moves are so natural or so correct. It's the only place they can be.
The first time we were rehearsing these fights, of course, we started making the sound effects of the lightsabers, like, woo, 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 woo. You know, we kind of looked at each other and I thought, okay, we have to stop that, you know. It's interesting. I mean, I've done maybe 4 or 5 films where I've had to do quite serious sword fighting. So I have a kind of a grounding in it. Normally with like sabers, you have to kind of hack, you know, and put weight behind it, but with these things it's very, very gentle, kind of smooth and fluid. Fast movements, but very kind of gentle at the same time. And when they use their lightsabers, they're extensions of themselves, you know?
I love having my lightsaber. It's the most exciting thing I've ever known. To have my own lightsaber is cool. There's not many people can say that they have one.
I mean, you're almost straight out of that. Once that's gone in, you're spinning and chopping because he just steps in.
Right, so what is it again from
there?
there?
Just that from the... We were blessed with both you and Liam. I think they understood that it had been written almost as dialogue, and so they could relate to it very easily.
And it's got such a particular style of its own, really, the lightsaber fights. So I don't know, it just all came together. I love it. I've really enjoyed it.
Ewan picked it up in a flash, and now is I think faster than any of us. So this is a Ewan McGregor lightsaber. We have to go through one fight. We're gonna have to get stronger ones made. They don't make lightsabers like they used to. Liam has a beautiful style, powerful. Yeah, that's it. That's what makes it work. He's fantastic at it.
I said I wanted a faster version of what the other movies were, more energetic version. And that's basically what he gave me. And I think the key to it was that we had a good villain who was a great fighter.
I always wanted to fly when I was a kid. I wanted to be like the guys in the movies, so that's how I started my martial arts.
I found Darth Maul, and he's being played by a guy called Ray Park. And he's very good in like kendo and martial arts, and he's a brilliant gymnast. I mean, you know, he's better than I am.
We actually cast a villain who was a sword fighter. You know, when you have one of the characters who actually knows what he's doing and is really an expert at it, it definitely ups the ante for all the other actors to do their thing as well as they can. And I think it makes a big difference on the screen.
We could see immediately he had the look, he had all the physical skill. He was incredibly disciplined, and the amount of work that this guy did was phenomenal. I mean, he put everything. He spent, 20 hours at the studio every day. The hatred that comes out of his eyes, there's no question that he is the serious bad guy. The makeup, which was beautifully done, instantly shows you someone who is a real menace.
The look of Darth Maul, the Sith Lord, I think it's cool. I think the makeup and the horns and the lenses and the teeth, you just can't help being naughty, just help being that character. I think we all have a bit of a dark side in us, and so I just try and bring that out myself when I play the character.
No, he's got to kick him and then jump up, because in the next cut, he's landing. He's jumped way up.
Okay, so then he could kick him and then jump.
Jump, yeah. You got to kick him and then jump. It would be not a very exciting sequence. I think it was all just done with doubles. I want to try something else. because most of the emotion of the fight is on people's faces. Do it slow. You go like that. Now you got to kick it. Now I don't even think if you did it with stunt people, they'd all be little tiny things in the frame. You'd never get close to the emotion that you get when you actually see the actors playing the part and see the actors struggling in the fight sequences.
With 3 months of really hard work, they came out with a wonderful set of choreographic fights that were really remarkable and fantastic.
They've got to be down there doing it. That you've got to get the sense of peril or threat. You know, we want them to win. They're our heroes, and so we need to be there with them.
One of the biggest challenges with doing a Star Wars film is that everything in the movie has to be designed. Everything from the forks and the tables to the costumes, to the dwellings they live in, to the culture itself. What kind of a culture it is, what kind of artifacts do they have. And it's a very big job because every little minute detail has to be thought through.
The design task for Episode 1 was literally like designing 5 or 6 or 7 films, in that each world needed its own history and everything needed to be thought out. So like on Naboo, we have a very craftsman and sort of elegant look, whereas on Coruscant, we have a very angular and sort of concrete and metal look. Everything about these worlds needs to be distinct enough so that when George is intercutting between these different environments in the story, you know right away where you are visually, whether it's a texture of the material, the color of the material, or the look of the material.
This looks like a stone and everything. I would make this thing chrome. Yeah, I try to tie it into the ship.
One of our biggest challenges was to create a world that was very different, but yet still had very strong ties with the original Star Wars. And it was a very difficult problem in that we are exposed to so much in terms of movie designs nowadays that in order to come back and try to come up with something fresh is a very daunting task.
The original designers, like Doug, sort of have full freedom to do whatever they want. And then I will sort of modify it. Then I work with Gavin even further to modify it to what is actually practical to do.
It starts off as one idea, just gradually by discussion or sketches or showing ideas or reference photographs or location photographs. Just gradually the process moves towards something that's much more defined.
So we could take this out,
yes,
and then we can sort of dress,
and use it for real.
Dress this with
junk
parts,
and, yeah,
whatnot, which would be great. What the cinematic dynamics of a particular design are is very, very important. Is, you know, how does it move through the frame? How does it show up on the frame? You know, dark ships on a dark sky don't work too well.
For weathering, to see if this is the right amount, too much, not enough, what your general reaction is.
The one thing that I would tone down a little is this.
Okay, it's getting a little too dirty.
Yeah.
Okay. When we designed the Naboo Starfighter, that was a very specific case because I initially thought that the ships would be very angular, like the X-Wing, but in fact we went the other extreme, which was going sleek and modern. So I started referencing 50s-style automotive hood ornaments. And from there, we kind of started expanding further on that design, taking the idea of take your sort of classic 50s rocket ship and updating it a little bit, putting new materials on it and so forth.
I think George really wanted to come up with a new idea because he didn't want to build something bigger than the last film to make a statement about bigness. I think he wanted something, a look that was really interesting.
In designing the Gungan sub, George requested that it just be some kind of a unusual technology, but it still needs to look like a submarine of sorts. And we deliberately designed it so that it's very organic. In Art Nouveau, by nature, is sort of a very fluid form. And so the Gungan sub now has a very squid-like or manta ray feel, where you have these semi-rigid organic propellers, yet it's powered by a fuel source that is unknown. That's one of the magics of of designing for film is that you're not bound by reality. So you can design something that can be aesthetically pleasing and helps propel the story, but yet you don't have to explain, where's the gas tank, or where's the crew compartment and how big it has to be and so forth. So in some ways, we think about those things, but we don't dwell on them.
The most difficult part of designing for a film is to create a kind of immaculate reality. And that is doubly difficult when you're dealing with an environment that doesn't exist.
Every set's a challenge. We never know quite how we're going to tackle it, but it kind of like all comes together whichever way we decide to tackle it.
The underwater one was the hardest because obviously underwater cities as such don't exist in any form. So George was very keen to use a sort of an Art Nouveau style on the sort of sculpted forms in there, just so there was a sort of a reference point. And in that environment, the audience does have something to sort of latch onto, subconsciously maybe more than anything else.
Star Wars is very plot-driven. Every page, every minute and a half, you're onto a new set. So you have to instantly believe in it.
Anakin's Hub was quite an interesting one because obviously it was back in Tatooine and George wanted it to have a certain feel of the homestead. His bedroom was something that George was saying, let's make it like any 9-year-old kid's bedroom. But of course, he lives in Tatooine, which is kind of slightly different. It's not until you lay on your bed and you start to count all those different bits and pieces that you got there that go to make up your own set at home that you realise that you're actually recreating an environment like that, but in a completely different world.
Sell me.
Bye.
Oh my.
The big issue always is that you're designing a lot of things that don't end up in the movie because you design a huge world and then you just use a small part of it. But you're not really sure in the beginning what is going to get used and what isn't going to get used, so you have to think through everything.
All the designs for the prequel is an incredible body of work. You can basically take all of our rejected ideas and come up with a whole new different film.
George's ability to take disparate images and juxtapose them together and create this reality that it becomes almost instant for everybody. They understand it immediately. It may be unfamiliar, but it's familiar in sense of its scale, its scope, and the fact that it is rooted in a sense of realism.
I put forth a lot of challenges to people in this movie. Things in the beginning we had no way of knowing whether it was going to work. I was going out on a limb aesthetically in a lot of areas, especially in some of the designs of the sets and the props, some of the vehicles. When you see the final movie, you're looking at really thousands of people who had a very direct creative influence on the movie, and I depended on a great deal to bring this galaxy into reality. On the first films, I purposely avoided very intense design cultures. So I kept the costumes very, very simple. And the costumes were designed not to draw attention to themselves. In the new film, the costumes do draw attention to themselves. They have to because they're in a more sophisticated society. And to do that and keep it timeless is much more difficult.
I think with respect to episode 1, it became pretty clear immediately that these were costumes that we weren't going to be able to rent or hire from any place around the world. And the only way we're going to maintain the quality and have the look, the true look that we wanted, was to fabricate everything.
At our busiest, we were using maybe 50, 60 people just in the costume department. I think we made well over 1,000 costumes. In fact, we made everything, really, that's seen, everything, hats, helmets, costumes. We had fabrics woven, printed, dyed, everything that you could do to a piece of fabric, we have done to it.
When I initially saw the designs, I was like, wow, I have to do this, because you could see how much There's so much more that goes into it than just a regular movie. You feel that the movie's really a creation. It's a lot of artists coming together and working on it. It's not just, you know, a script and a couple of actors.
It was extraordinary to stand in front of the mirror with all my wardrobe on and stuff. Because I was Obi-Wan Kenobi, you know, and it was quite a moment for a young man.
You still have much to learn, my young apprentice. The look of the costumes like taps into all these various cultures that we all subliminally recognize.
The designs are a little more outlandish, especially for the Queen. We looked all over, Mongolia and Tibet and just everywhere to find inspiration for our costumes.
This is where we're going to get killed the most, or I'm going to get killed. I have very scrupulously avoided fashion in the other movies. I made the Princess Leia, very, very simple, just completely simple. No design, no fashion, no nothing. And this time we're walking right into a fashion statement, head on.
When I first started in the film, we were going to have 3 costumes for the Queen. And as time went on, George decided that every time we saw the Queen, that she was going to have a different costume.
Somebody of that stature would automatically be changing her costumes to fit the occasion. She travels, she goes to the Senate, she has sort of official functions and non-official functions, and each one of those demands a different type of costume.
Ian McCaig did a lot of the drawing, and various other people in the conceptual art department, and sort of showed them to George at the art department meetings, and then, came back and said, yes, George likes this one, doesn't like that one.
Some suggestions for some of those new costumes.
Ooh! If you could make that line more...
You basically take the screenplay and the written word, if you get to read it, or a verbal description from the director, if you don't, and imagine it.
Has a little loop on the side of her trousers for the gun belt to be held down there.
The ski pant outfit. It's one thing to be able to draw something on a piece of paper and another thing to actually make it three-dimensional and work. But Tricia couldn't do that. She had to actually deal with it and make it work in the real world.
I think you quite like the idea of being able to see through it. Yeah. I think 4 inches on the centre backs.
So there was a lot of redesigning that had to go on. So this is red. And a lot of working with different types of fabrics, pretty intense, different kinds of materials, different kinds of jewelry, and make it all fit together.
4 1/4 inches across. So was that mark the centre of? Yeah.
I went to London and discovered what a real costume designer does, which is take 20 different fabrics, go, and next thing you know, there they all are, and they're pinned up, and it's a sheet of black just like you drew, but it's 10 different pieces of material.
This is the part of the Queen Travel 1 costume. It's completely handmade, so you start with a sheet of almost clear, it's like a cellophane. You do your design on it, and when you finish that, you stick it in water, and the clear fabric disappears, leaving the lace. So this fabric took someone probably a month to make, working at continually.
It will be ratified by the Senate.
I will not. We use quite a lot of antique pieces in various places, antique trimming and fabrics from various parts of the world. This, I think, probably was about 1910. But it was quite difficult to tell just because it was a lace piece with sort of odd bits. Some of the motifs weren't complete, so we had some fantastic sort of embroiderers here who managed to bead it all back and add in the beads to make it look like one complete piece.
Tricia is very good at bringing in antique cloths, various kinds of weights of cloth that would move different ways when they were layered on top of each other, things that I hadn't had a lot of experience with, and so I learned a great deal from Tricia.
This was quite a time-consuming fabric to create because all the stones were gathered sort of on a beach. We did have problems with this in Tunisia because with the heat, the rubber sort of expanded slightly and we had stones popping out all over the place and spent quite a lot of time having to put them back in again. I thought that corner was meant to be slightly set back, but that's quite flexible, isn't it? That was a smaller piece and then had another piece here, depending on how fat to go underneath.
It's very easy in a movie to want to make everybody be the same because then you can just replicate a particular costume.
We've done 2 versions of this armour in different types of quilting.
To do individual costumes and do them in the thousands is a very, very difficult task. But I did want the military to have several different kinds of outfits, that the officers were different than the enlisted men, that the pilots were different than the troopers.
I'm going to say you've got a belt, you've got gloves. That thing on your head is perhaps a hat? Goggles and boots.
Well, being in the costumes themselves and having the strange makeup and hair really made me feel different. You feel like a different person. When you feel like a different person, it's easier to act like a different person. It also changes your movement. If you've got a big thing on your head, you have to walk straighter. You can't slouch like an American teenager. You have to stand straight like a queen so that it doesn't knock you over.
In the other films I've been involved with, it's always been a very, very simple wardrobe. And this became a very complex, very designed wardrobe, a very fashionable wardrobe.
I think people will be amazed by the costume. The images are so haunting and so beautiful. And I think it's something that they've never seen or witnessed before in any previous Star Wars film.
I just think they're great costumes. I think Ewan looks fantastic in his.
You look good in yours. You look fantastic.
It's good for like the effect of the film, as long as it doesn't like give me brain damage or anything. I'm all for it.
The secret to film is that it's an illusion, and it's an illusion that's created at 24 frames a second. You have the illusion of movement, you have the illusion of space and time, and ILM is concerned with creating that illusion.
It's funny, the images that you see on the screen are nothing like what it is to actually do it. You know, they often can be so, oh wow, that looks really neat, but what it's involved is, you know, maybe 40, 50, 60 people working on that thing for weeks and weeks, and then you just think, oh boy, that's a neat explosion. But what it's taken to get that has been a lot of different talents from a lot of different people.
On Episode 1, we basically had more freedom than George ever had on the original Star Wars film, and that's really due to digital technology. Up till now, everybody's been constrained by the compromises you have to make because you virtually couldn't build something so big, or you couldn't have such an epic landscape to tell your story in.
That was the fun part of writing this project, is that I wasn't limited. Whatever my imagination could come up with, I just put down on the page, and I said, we'll worry about this later.
We went out to the ranch and saw 3,500 storyboards, all pasted up on sheets of foam core. And George took us through all the boards one by one, kind of taking us through the story and giving us a general idea of what was required. And my reaction, just about every board, was, well, that's going to be really hard. And before you even have time to think, he's on to the next one. That's another, well, there's 2,000 characters in that shot. How were we? And then we were on to the next one. And so it was a pretty overwhelming experience.
We were just blown away. The first few meetings were just trying to get a sense of what these might look like and how many characters might be needed or how many models and which direction we were going to go. It was just staggering, the concept.
It became pretty clear up front, this is going to be unlike any other special effects movie ever done. To put it in perspective, a big film has maybe 250 effect shots, and a really monster film like Titanic will have 450, 500. But it was really clear that George was thinking about somewhere between 1,700 and 2,000 shots. And the thing that I was most afraid of was, can ILM do it? Could any effects house do that?
From the get-go, we saw we were going to have to branch out in all directions and use all of the arrows in ILM's quiver.
I'm betting heavily on the Boulevard.
So in a case like the pod race hangar, we shot a number of the full-size pod racer engines in a stage in Leavesden.
As we were shooting, it was my job to try and make sure that we had all the pieces we needed to put the shot together later.
There was a huge crew, lots of computers, lots of wires, and lots of guys hunched over these machines, and I thought, well, I know they have to do with the film, but I don't quite want to know what they're up to.
We used whatever would work. We used the oldest of the old techniques, miniatures and matte paintings, and we used the newest of the new. We wrote a lot of new software on the show to be able to do some of these shots.
You know, these guys over here are building this wonderful model, 5 people building a model for 3 weeks that then goes to a pyrotechnic guy, and there's a camera crew shooting it, and they blow that thing up.
Okay, roll camera. It was important to be able to mix and match without really being able to tell that this was computer graphics or that this was a model or that this was live action.
To create CG characters, alien characters, who could interact seamlessly with live actors was the dream.
Sebulba is going to win, I think. Oh, no!
In terms of Jar Jar's performance, it really all started with Ahmed Best.
He would play the scene with the actors. So I blocked it out and I directed the actors and Ahmed the way I wanted the scene to be played. I hired Ahmed because he is very physical and he can act with his body. You kind of come over here next to the Jedi.
So we have Ahmed, motion capture applied to the Jar Jar model, but we haven't done any of the ears or the hands or anything yet.
Yeah.
But that's what we get from Ahmed, and here's a slightly different walk we had him do.
It's nice that his neck kind of sticks out more than a normal person would.
Yeah. Ahmed's performance was really a reference. Typically what we did is we blocked in the work very quickly, very, very rough, no facial animation, no overlapping action. You can think of him as a three-dimensional object, like our own bodies that have bones in them, and what we're able to do is grab, say, a wrist, and move it, and then pose the other hand, and then pose the head, and you can have the character locked in space for one frame.
And then they give me another more articulate version down the road that's got, eye movement, lip movement, hands.
So it makes a little difference. Oh, it makes a little difference.
In this case, I've got a shape here. If you watch his mouth, I can change the percentage of this shape, and I can dramatically change the look of his mouth.
You know, the interesting thing is in the reaction, it seems like his eyes go back, see?
Yeah.
Rather than forward.
They go forward.
I would think.
Yeah, we have them pop back and then move forward, but I don't think one can read.
The initial thing has to be forward.
The difficult thing is creating a performance from a wireframe model on a computer. A performance that is as rich and as human and as dignified as any other character that we have in the movie.
You won this small toss, Outlander, but you won't win the race, so it makes a little difference.
That digital character that doesn't exist has to hold his own with Liam Neeson.
What's this?
A local.
This isn't a group of computer geeks. These are serious guys who understand performance, subtlety, behavior, pacing, all the elements of storytelling.
The analogy really is of a painting, an enormous painting. You look at any individual shot, and it's amazing what George and ILM has jammed into each frame of this movie. You're actually bombarded with it the first viewing. There's one shot that I just love. It's a helicopter shot establishing Theed. It's way too short for me. I've seen it 25 times. I still can't see everything I want to see.
The biggest challenge is producing the volume of effects and keeping the quality level up.
It was like building Venice. To build a city, a classical Renaissance city of the future or the past, it was fabulous.
Any show that we do, typically there's a couple aspects of it that are something that hasn't been done before. And on this show, there were probably 24. So dealing with fabric simulation, and how the cloth folds and how it reacts to the movement.
Bombard General.
Extremely dense, complex scenes with hundreds or thousands of characters. Synthetic terrain generation.
The pod race is an incredible accomplishment. Virtually everything, the sky, the terrain, the pod, the engines, and the digital characters, the CG alien characters that actually fly the machines, are completely created by a group of artists. Nothing like that has ever been attempted before.
With the synthetic way that we're doing these, we can really give the emotion to the scene that is appropriate for the film.
You have to see the film 2 or 3 times. It's so dense. There's so many different things that are going on in each frame.
There's an old cliche that says the best compliment you could ever get is that nobody knew there were effects in the picture. I'm not sure I agree with that. I also really like working on the really bold stuff, like racing through the desert at 600 miles an hour and things crashing and exploding.
There's nothing like, 4,000 Gungans fighting 4,000 droids. That's just really neat.
A lot of people were very, very nervous in the beginning of this, but everybody has come through in the most amazing way.
You know, he's been waiting for 20 years to fold everything ILM has learned back into episode 1.
And action.
It's a beautiful thing to witness and watch.
This is the 1st of November, 1994. Today is my first day of writing the new Star Wars series. I took my kids to school this morning. My oldest daughter was sick all night. I got no sleep whatsoever. This is my life. This is the hole I live in, a cave I hibernated. I have beautiful, pristine yellow tablets, ready to go. Nice fresh blocks of pencils. I'm all set. All I need is an idea. The original notes and the original outline are, I don't know, 15 pages. This whole early part was written to set up the films that were made. I had to sort of figure out who everybody was, where they came from, how they got to be where they were, and what the dynamic relationships were between everybody. There is drama inherent in it because there is a lot of betrayal and a lot of things like that going on. But a lot of the subtleties of the story and the intricate weaving of themes and everything hasn't really been done at all. This book was put together when I was, actually I was writing, I think I wrote graffiti in this book actually. I wrote graffiti and all the Star Wars in this book. It's great to be able to sit by myself and just be able to do this. It's like a real luxury, actually. And, you know, I don't feel a lot of pressure. It's kind of fun. I'm getting to do a lot of research, which I love to do, and I'm getting a chance to think. How good is that? I get to do a lot of things now that I couldn't do before. Create things that weren't possible to create before. I was always, and I will be on this, but I've always been sort of at the limit of what is possible in terms of storytelling. Things have advanced so far in the last 20 years in terms of your ability to portray things on the screen that were just literally impossible before. I think about the scenes all the time, and you know, they come in a mosaic, and then eventually all the pieces come together. And then there'll be some missing ones, and then I have to sort of sit down and really work hard to get from point A to point B. My oldest daughter was born during Jedi. Since then, I slowed down quite a bit, and I focused more on my family. This is going to be the first time I go back and try to do a movie of this scale with this much intensity. It starts with me sitting here doodling in my little binder, but it ends up with a couple thousand people working together in a very, very intense, emotional, creative way to pull it off. And, you know, it goes from, you know, my nannies to the producers to the camera crews to ILM. I mean, it's all over here. It's just a dream. It's just a kind of a thing that I can sit here and do and say, wouldn't it be great if? And then pounding that into reality takes a huge amount of effort. You know, the interesting part for me is, you know, I started all by myself. And then almost immediately, within about 3 or 4 months of starting to write the scripts, I brought in Doug and a few of the other designers. And then we, there's a little group, and then we started building that little group that's the design group from the attic. And we've worked for 2.5 years together. And what I've done is, over those 2.5 years, spent huge amounts of time approving, changing, and finalizing designs for things. Thousands of things.
Fine art was very important, especially to the Queens people. And they really appreciated it. You can tell in their architecture, their sculpture, and their clothing, and so forth. And in episode 1, that element naturally carries over to their hardware or their vehicles. I grew up on certain types of science fiction films. I was a big science fiction fanatic as a kid. But when I saw Star Wars, I was really blown away, but I was actually kind of like, there are certain things that I didn't like about it. But the great thing was I went home and I kind of drew, my version of the X-Wing.
I'd make this cockpit about 1/4 of the size that it is, and I'd stick it back here. And then I'd take the engine part and I'd sort of cut this part off right here.
I started with a staff of 2, and we were given a huge list of vehicles, creatures, environments, and whatnot to design. And it was just a matter of sitting down and trying to comprehend, where to start first, and then how to design something that will live up to the expectations of everybody that's going to see this film. George is very reactive, and he likes to kind of see things. And he basically just said, I need single-person fighters and shuttles and so forth. So just like a small shuttle type thing?
I don't know what it is. Don't ask me those technical questions. It's neat, that's all.
My decisions on what is aesthetically pleasing is really hard to nail down, because what I like is, obviously going to be different from what somebody else likes. It's a matter of getting in sync with George, and I hope that I've kind of gotten in sync with George in this film. For the Starfighter, the good guys, it started out very differently, because I initially thought that the ships would be very angular, like the X-Wing, but George wanted to go more towards the handcrafted look. George would come in every Friday for our weekly meetings, and it was very difficult sometimes because we spent a lot of time and energy to draw beautiful drawings, and we put them up on the wall, and George will dismiss these designs very quickly. And it took me a while to get used to it, because one of our first couple of meetings, I would put up a wall full of designs, and he would look at it literally after 10 seconds, say, I like this one, this one, this one. Episodes 4, 5, and 6 kind of had the industrial mentality in terms of spaceships were punched out. They were kind of like plastic materials. Things were kind of mass-produced. It kind of happened with the industrial design in the United States. We had, an era in the 20s and 30s where things were more romantic, and the craftsmen were the king. But then slowly, as the Industrial Revolution took over, machinery and mass production became the norm. I'm not quite sure if this is George's take, but for me, when that pattern clicked, everything made sense in terms of designing for this film.
I was very clever in the first Star Wars films in that I kept the design very simple, and I avoided situations where I was going to get into trouble design-wise. This one, I'm daring to take the chance and see what happens.
I think about this constantly. I mean, it's going to the 3rd year, and there hasn't been a day or an hour where I haven't thought of something that could work. On the Starfighter alone, we went through easily 3 dozen drawings.
Hello. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning.
That's only one vehicle in a world populated by many vehicles, many creatures, everything. For weathering, to see if this is the right amount, too much, not enough, what your general reaction is.
I would say this is the most distressed.
Okay.
And then they can do minor, less versions of this.
Okay. Now, the other thing that we haven't really addressed is like paint chips and things. Do you want to see that?
Keep it pretty much the way it is. I mean, the one thing that I would tone down a little bit is this.
Okay. It's getting a little too dirty.
Yeah.
Okay. The whole point of this is what works for the story. It could be the coolest thing, but if people don't know what it is or how it works in 5 seconds, it doesn't matter.
The first full-size set that was started 2 weeks ago is Anakin's interior. I think that'll be the first set that George will see in about 5 or 6 weeks' time.
This is the reworkings of Anakin's, with an entranceway into there.
Yeah.
Added an extra little alcove on this side, and the doorway straight out.
It should feel smaller.
So definitely bring the ceiling down.
Yeah, I would bring the whole thing down and make it, you know, kind of a little bubble-ish.
We're 8 weeks away from production now. Well, we're 8 weeks away from shooting, and the adrenaline's pumping, and we're churning things out as though there's no tomorrow.
When you gonna have this finished by?
Tomorrow.
You'll need to bend a tube there and the intermediate one in here.
Yes.
Rake up here, we're going to put a decking up here.
Yeah.
And that forms our platform.
Excellent.
Anakin's Hub was quite an interesting one because obviously it was back in Tatooine, and George wanted it to have a certain feel of the homestead from Star Wars.
The look of the movie is very, very important, and you want to develop a look that doesn't call attention to itself, that is very natural, but is very unusual at the same time, and gives you this sense of an otherworldly situation. So we could take this out.
Yes.
And then we can sort of dress.
And use it for real.
Dress this with
junk
parts
and,
and whatnot, which would be great. That would look good.
George was saying, you know, let's make it like any 9-year-old kid's bedroom. But of course, he lives in Tatooine, which is kind of slightly different. Now, if you don't mind, I'd just like to wander around a couple of the sets.
Yep, we're ready. Okay, we are.
Just you?
Yeah. Well, I saw some of the photos of the set starting to go up.
Yep.
Home sweet home. All right, great.
Okay.
We've never dared go this far, but
it's sort of the first intimate area you've had, almost, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. We never saw Luke's
bedroom or anything. Yeah.
You know, it is important that we make this a warm boys' room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know?
It's only 9.
I'm not sure about a closet, but we could
hang around on the bed.
Well, you could put a closet over there.
In our 20th century environment, the majority of things just blend in. It's not until you lay on your bed and you start to count all those different bits and pieces that you got there that go to make up your own set at home that you realise that you're actually recreating an environment like that, but in a completely different world.
72, take 19, pick up our big cameras, and action.
Well, I'd like to introduce you to Ty Teager, who's our prop master.
Hi.
And an integral part of our team with all the boys that we've got working here. Probably the best bunch of hooligans I've ever worked with in my life.
Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
You're a darling.
So, this is kind of our prop store. These came out of mainframe computers, which we'll either use as dressing or incorporate into something else. And in fact, already we've sort of taken half of them and put them in the panels in Anakin's room. All of this will be things that will be used in the Tatooine street in the markets for displaying fruit and vegetables or whatever the guys might be selling. And we've just let the boys have their head and say, look, you know, imagine that you're going to be selling something down in Covent Garden, but it's not, it's the Tatooine street. I think these are gaskets, aren't they?
Yeah, those are gaskets.
Yeah.
That's an aerial off a fighter aeroplane. Held together with lots of very strong glue.
Yep. Very strong, believe it or not.
I mean, the only way you can actually realise what to do is by getting the boys here to actually come up with ideas.
What do you call it? Gizmo, techno sort of looking sci-fi equipment, really.
It's boys in paradise, really.
Yes, yes,
doing all
definitely.
boys
It's a boys'
stuff.
film.
It's a boys' film. Unless, of course, we were women, and then it would be women doing a boys' film.
I feel like I'm in some guerrilla army polishing guns.
It's just like doing a sculpture. We'd have the base of the gun, and then we start to put things together like a jigsaw and say, well, that looks good on the top there, and all of a sudden, you've got a finished article. You know, when George comes over, we have everything nicely laid out, rather than saying, oh, there's a bit over here, George, there's a bit over there, there's a bit over there, because he wants to be able to see it in its nicest possible way.
Yeah, it's like having an exhibition every time he comes over.
That's a very good way of putting it, yeah.
Attachment for when he fires the cable. So what we're thinking of doing is making these out of a cast which actually fit onto the gun, which you can then take off the fire.
Perfect.
So that'll be on there, and then bang.
These are actually castings of the real original, but I think they're a gun that's held either like that. These are the machine guns, yeah, dummy machine guns. I mean, obviously they're making real shooting versions of these as well. There's a shot where they all pull the guns out of the holsters and put the rockets in the end like that.
Bang.
Binoculars.
Very good. Everybody looks so close. Should be something nice.
That was going to be the comlink for the Jedi.
No, that's good.
Okay.
We're always a bit selfish. We'd like as much stuff to be seen as possible. Yeah. And like the piece that you were spinning, I mean, that's a fabulous part. And maybe before they turn over, George would just have it spinning slightly. And things like that almost build up, don't they? They might actually start on that and pull out and reveal everything else, you know.
Thanks a lot.
The story's the most important, not the props. And you've got to get used to that. But it is the actors that are the most important, obviously. You know, we're just the background stuff, really.
Well, as you can see, guys, that was an amazing tense situation between me and George Lucas, and we did okay. Thank you very much.
I think he's fun.
Does he speak?
No.
No sound. No.
Well, they'll probably put some noises.
Some soundtrack.
No, he's just one of the senators. So he's almost a cutaway. We've got tons of these that are just
a few shots. Yeah.
In the middle of a major scene. But it's great. We've brought over all the old stuff. We've got the original Yoda here.
Have you got the original Yoda?
And the original Chewbacca,
that's
which we're not allowed to damage or touch or alter because they're iconic.
All the Einstein lines. I had to get something that would subconsciously register in people's minds. They'd recognise something vaguely, I hoped. And it seemed to work somehow or another.
There is another theory.
Yeah, there is a bit of me in it too, yeah. The comic bits.
So there it is.
This actually snarls and comes up, should come up quite a bit. Yeah, that still does.
Mm.
So does that one.
Yeah. If the foam hadn't deteriorated, it would still work.
Yeah. It's not too bad actually. And it does, the jaw does open, I imagine, a bit, does it?
Yeah.
Should do. Oh yes.
Yeah.
Is the tongue still movable? It's a little bit on the stiff side.
Yeah.
Apart from changing from foam latex to silicon, because we're going to do the skin in silicon, which I'll show you when we get back there.
Silicon foam?
No, silicon rubber.
I
not
mean,
foam,
yeah, silicon rubber.
And
of course,
it's because basically it can be
Softer.
translucent, and you can make it very soft.
Even the eyelids. Can you make the left eyelids, make them blink and the right eyebrow go up at the same time?
I told you it was tough.
The snarling. No, that's very good indeed. My goodness, that's great. All radio control. Lovely.
Creature shop? We're doing frogs, alien frogs for particular scenes. Everyone's done a frog.
This is a creature film, isn't it?
One or two, yes.
Sometimes something wrong about certain heads, but
we've got one of them.
I don't know. Well, you put them in the back room because what I've seen now, it's all got some character in it.
So, Stuart, we thought that we should do something to mark your visit. This is for you.
My goodness.
And it's from all of us.
Oh, that's
To say
fantastic.
thank you.
Oh, that is fantastic. That's incredible. That is fantastic. Well, well, well.
Okay, come forward a bit. Yeah. Okay, when you ready?
Ready.
Okay.
Action.
I was looking for a kind of sword fighting that was reminiscent of what was in the movies that we'd already done, but a more energized version of it. Because we'd actually never seen real Jedis at work. We'd only seen, old men and crippled half droid, half men, and young boys that had learned from these people. So to see a Jedi fighting in the prime of the Jedi, I wanted it to be a much more energetic and faster version of what we've been doing.
I'm Nick Gillard, I'm the stunt coordinator. When I was 12, I was sent to military school, which I hated, so I left and ran away to the circus. I got on the stunt register when I was 18. If you get caught on your toes, just step back and then go in. Just try that. Okay. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
There's no room for error in any of the fights. You won't see it because they're so fast, but if you slow them down and freeze-frame them, they can only parry there or they can only attack there. The moves are so natural or so correct. It's the only place they can be. Since they had chosen such a short-range weapon, they would have to be so good if they're up against ray guns and lasers. So they would have studied every great sword fighting style and come up with a kind of mixture of kendo and samurai and every sword style there's ever been, and a bit of tennis and a bit of tree chopping, everything that you could swing at. You can clock it super fast, right, like that. So as he comes in there, you go.
Well, that's good because we've never done that one before.
Yeah. So, when we train actors, we would write a fight that made to be a minute long, but that'll be in 5 or 6 sections of 6 or 7 moves only. So then we just go through really very slowly, and then just start picking up the pace. So this is a Ewan McGregor lightsaber. We have to go through one fight. We're gonna have to get stronger ones made. They don't make lightsabers like they used to. We shot a test fight to set this style, this sort of Jedi style. I wrote it very much like a game of chess played at 1,000 miles an hour. And every single move is a check. There's only one way out of it.
Jedi are like negotiators. They aren't people that go out and blow up planets. They aren't people that shoot down things. They're more of a one-to-one combat type. So I just want the form of fighting and the role of the Jedi Knight to be special and more spiritual and more intellectual than just a fighter or a superhero or something like that.
Morning. Ben, come in, please. Bernie, come in. Go ahead.
Nathan, come in, please.
Morning. 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 Morning, Bernie.
Good morning, Chris.
Bernie, come in. It's Phil. Go ahead.
Are you downstairs?
Liam's here, Bernie. Any chance you could grab scrambled egg, bacon and tomatoes on brown toast? Certainly. On its way up. Thanks very much. John Shank's going to come and have a moment.
You bring some milk up for Oliver, please.
We've got a power problem.
Are you busy at the moment?
We've got a sunlight situation. I didn't hear you very well, Paul. What's the situation with the extras at the moment?
Guys, everyone, listen up. Anyone who's ready, just step outside the marquee and we'll walk you over to the set.
Anybody that's available to come over should come over as and when. Thanks.
I'll send them down now then. Take them to the set.
Yeah, okay. Okay, guys, we're going to go to the set. Go ahead, Bernie.
I'm walking over from the base if someone can meet me halfway.
The assistant directors as a whole are responsible for organising the day-to-day running of the shoot and what happens on the set. You would start as a floor runner, which is like a trainee. Then you would become a third assistant director.
I'll get back to you and let you know.
Where you officially have more responsibility. And as a second, I'm responsible for preparing what's going to happen the following day and the following week in terms of liaising with actors, making sure they know when they're coming into work.
Morning, Mr. McGregor.
Far too early for this
Preparing the call sheet.
Wait a minute.
That tells everybody what's happening the following day.
That can be changed, John.
5:30.
Just let me know.
We've got 40 guys. We'll start them here, marching this way.
Straight down?
Straight down, being herded this way.
This way, okay.
Yeah?
All right. Could you divide the foot soldiers into 3 groups, A, B, and C? 16 people per group.
12.
Ben, I've got one more foot soldier for you. For these ones.
Group B. You in Group B.
Right, Group A.
Thank you very much.
If you imagine that the director is a painter, and he's got all these colours, which are the crew, what you've got to do is mix all those things on the palette so he doesn't end up with brown.
Yeah, so 2 more behind, and I should have, yeah, that's it.
So what's happened is you've been captured, and when we get to a certain point, Chris, should we get these guys to sit down as well, do you think? They're going to sit down.
They're going to sit down. These guys come in and get sat down here. They're already sat down, right? Ben will tell you when to get up. So when you all stood up, okay, everybody stood up and then march off, okay?
All right, shooting. Here we go.
All right, here we go then, please.
That's not the gun mic, is it?
Turn over, please.
Turning. And action!
Background action! Action!
It's the art of the minimum necessary effort. And that's what I try and get everything down to, is the minimum effort required, rather than the maximum effort. Because if you put maximum effort into everything, you'll do 3 shots a day. And since we'll have done something like 3,000 shots, you do them as well as you can within the time frame you can allow, and then you stop and move on.
That's great. Okay, thank you. Okay, cut!
Cut!
We've cut, thank you.
That's lunch, thank you very much.
We have broken for lunch.
It actually feels odd when there isn't anything to do at lunchtime and you sit down.
I feel guilty.
That feels strange.
Should be doing something.
Yeah.
All right, 1 more now without the white droids, please. George, I've come a bit too far that way if you want to line up to where they were. Go to where you start, guys. On the white, forward a bit. That's it, okay. Just come to here a second. All right, here we go then, please. Turn over.
Turning. Speed.
27 Echo, take 2 ambi cameras.
And action! Okay, cut.
Cut it. Cut it.
Thanks.
All right, that's a wrap. Thanks very much.
That's a wrap, everybody.
Thank you.
See you tomorrow.
Okay.
That's a wrap. Main unit.
We wrap at about 8 o'clock, somewhere between 8 and 8:30, and then we're here for about an hour and a half after that, waiting for people to leave, the actors again. And then making sure we've got everything set for the next day, leaving at about 10 o'clock on an average.
Getting up at 5 and getting to bed at 12 or 12:30, that's pretty normal.
Get the foot soldiers out of their costumes.
Copy that.
And that completes the main unit crowd for the day. Great, thanks.
Hi, my name is Cameron Finley. I'm 7 years old. I'll be 8 on August 30th. Hi, my name is Devin Michael, and I'm 9 years old. Hi, I'm Michael Rano, and I'm 8.5. Hi, my name is Jake Lloyd, and I'm 7 years old. Hi, my name is Justin Burfield, and I'm 9.
George wrote it knowing that it would be an incredible task to find the right child actor. He had every imaginable element built into this kid, from mechanical ability to earnestness. His look was important, his intelligence. And usually children's roles aren't that complex. And in Anakin, you had to have it all.
We tested literally thousands of kids. We went all over the world for 3 years, doing tests, shooting tapes.
We looked in England and Ireland and Scotland and in North America and Canada and the States. And it was a process of just going to every single location and contacting the agents, contacting the schools, and kind of throwing out this big net, bringing in as many boys as I could. I think I actually interviewed about 3,000 Anakins. And from that 3,000, I narrowed it down to 3 boys.
Scene 1A, take 1. Scene 1A, take 2. Scene 1A, take 1.
They had to be really good actors. They had to be kind of wise beyond their years. And they had to have a good charisma, a good personal quality about them that could carry this kind of a film.
We decided to bring them all up to a test screen at the ranch with George directing. That's a huge thing for a little boy to think that he could be the next Anakin Skywalker. I mean, in their world, that's mammoth.
This is Natalie.
Hi.
All right. So, Anakin is a little boy who lives with his mother on Tatooine. You all know where Tatooine is.
Yeah.
It's a desert planet. And he works in this little shop that sells used spaceship parts.
There's very few children who can actually act because acting is experience, and kids have limited experience.
You've never met each other, so this is the first time you've ever said anything to each other.
And speed.
Scene 1, take 1.
And action.
I'm a pilot, and someday I'm gonna fly away from this place.
You're a pilot?
All my life. I'm a pilot, and someday I'm gonna fly away from this place.
You're a pilot?
All my life. I'm a pilot, Someday I'm gonna fly away from this place.
You're a pilot?
All my life.
You're just a little boy.
I won't always be. I won't always be. I won't always be.
Great. Perfect.
We had Leia and Luke, and then from that we had to draw who their parents could or would be. And so we're kind of going backwards. Natalie had to look like Carrie Fisher, and Anakin had to look like Mark Hamill. I was matching parents to children, and I was matching an ensemble cast. I think you have to be a bit of a investigator, and you have to enjoy the chase.
I'll start with me. I'm Rick. I'm the producer.
Ewan McGregor, Obi-Wan Kenobi. I'm George. I'm responsible for all of this.
I'm Jake, and I'm playing Anakin Skywalker.
Everyone came to the table equal, and everyone had an equal shot at it. It's just who's right for the role, and that was the only qualifier that I had to work within.
One of the most important things in this particular character is that he is a wonderfully nice boy. And then there's this very intuitive kind of gut feel you get about that's the one. With Jake, I just got that feeling.
I'm a pilot, you know, and someday I'm gonna fly away from this place.
When you're a writer, it's an ideal world. You can create anything that you want to. But that translation from the written page to reality, therein lies the nature of my job. My sole function in life is to make what George wants physically happen. One thing I knew from the beginning was that Anakin was from Tatooine. There's no way you can really physically recreate that in any stage environment or even backlot environment. You have to go there. So very early on, Gavin and I went on a location scout to Tunisia. And we found an area in Tozeur. We figured if we went about 15, 20 miles outside of the city, in the middle of the desert, we could build our own town and make it as big as George wanted to do.
Okay, so these are all the pieces we get to play with.
We could use that as the cafe, and just redress it, take that. So the questions will become is how much more do we need?
We're talking about building this in Tozeur now, right?
Yes.
There's a wonderful art director that we hired called Ben Scott, and we put him in charge of setting up the huge construction job of building virtually a city in the middle of the desert. Is this where the cafe would be?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is the cafe here. This is where Sebulba has a confrontation. Now all these things have been made in England and then brought over here.
The most difficult scene to deal with in the desert was definitely the pod race scene. George was thinking about like a 747 type engine. I mean, they're 2-3 stories high, they're 15, 16 feet long. It took us about 3.5 months to build the 18 engines that we eventually sent to Tunisia. The movement of a crew to a location, it's like moving a small platoon across the desert. It's a campaign. And that brings a lot of complications, but it's really like war now.
And turn over. 26, George, take 2A camera.
And action!
It was 138, 140, 145 degrees every day. By 11 o'clock in the morning, you were so fried, you could barely think. By 1, you'd lost 3 or 4 pounds of weight. You feel like every bit of liquid in your body is boiling.
Just tell everyone to look to see if they have water next to them. If they have water, it has to go.
Action! Amen!
We do not work on a normal level. We arrive and we shoot, and nothing stops us shooting, no matter what the natural disaster that hits us. As we drove back to the hotel after our 3rd day of shooting, I saw some lightning in the far distance. I was kind of alarmed by the lightning, but I figured it would pass during the evening. Sat down to dinner, and all of a sudden, all hell broke loose.
لا هو في الأول معناها جاء رمل ونسمة
At the beginning, there were wind and the sand blew up.
It's going to be very, very, very hot today.
And we couldn't get radio contact with our security guards because they were holed up in the toilet.
And they all ran to the toilet and they shut themselves in the toilet.
I mean, the main thing here is not to have panic and everybody just to be running all over the place. I think we have to head up little teams of people and work methodically through it.
It was devastating. You know, I figured maybe the tents would have been gone, but everything was gone. Let's get in here with Trish.
Remove the wall from the roof. Push the roof into the middle with the poles and pull the wall off, and then you'll find your belongings underneath.
You guys got the manpower, though, for the moment?
Well,
I think
for the
if we
moment,
get through
yes,
this,
we're
yeah.
fine. Yeah.
Okay. Liam's wig, how's that?
They're working on it. They're still finding bits and pieces.
All right.
Their moustaches and stuff.
It's only one piece.
No, it's not.
Do you think? The engine sets, look at that. That is grim.
Is it okay?
We have Anakin, the little boy. These are his engines, which play the most crucial part in the movie.
Right.
They're split in two, which doesn't look good. Yeah, this is heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking.
All right, I think, you know, again, if we push this back to the end,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, if we can live with Anakin working on one engine, we've got the replacement pod, which is in good shape. This is pretty good shape. There's a little battering, but nothing that can't be fixed up. This piece we can actually crack. George was totally calm about the storm. The same thing had happened to him on the first Star Wars film.
I say it's good luck.
It is good luck.
It happened last time, and it happened this time. Almost, it's like reliving it.
Either you give up and you say, oh, let's go back to bed, and you panic. The only real thing you can do is just try and get people to rally around the task at hand. Luckily, we had this one set that we could still continue to shoot on. Pushing the pod race to the very end of the schedule, we never lost a beat after that, and we walked out of Tunisia the exact day that we were supposed to. I love shooting on location. I mean, that's my favorite. If you're working on a stage, it's always achievable. But when you're on location, you never know what's going to happen. Now, do you need that one down, George? Do you think they'll get away? They want here? Yeah, we do. We do? No problem.
Go ahead.
Can you get the local boys just to get that one last pod down, the red one over here? When we finally did shoot the pods, I volunteered to shoot a wide shot of the scene from a crane. One of the things that I could see that was so wonderful was not only all of our pods rebuilt, but beyond that sand dune was our whole base camp, which had been completely rebuilt. And to see it all working, seeing the second unit about a half a mile away actually shooting, seeing the first unit prepping for our biggest scene in the movie, it was joy. It was pure bliss. I'd hit the mountaintop. Perfect day.
George said that this film is definitely a costume drama, especially for the Queen. We looked all over to find inspiration for our costumes. And, I mean, Mongolia and Tibet and just everywhere.
Okay, some suggestions for some of those new costumes.
Ooh, this is in the right direction.
Okay.
If you could make that line more like this.
I am nervous about all of the costumes actually working. I was paranoid until I went to London and discovered what a real costume designer does. The baton has passed to her. What was drawn now has to be made real. She's going to make it happen.
Say 2 meters in the yellow going to pink. Would that be?
Okay.
We started off originally with only 5 costumes for the Queen,
By the time we actually started filming, I think we'd increased that to 10 or 11 costumes. I don't think we see her twice in the same costume throughout the whole film. Because we're filming outside, we wanted a fabric that would move in a breeze. So we would have the breeze rippling through the top layers of her cloak.
It's got to be about 250 petals on here now. And it'll probably be about a total of a couple of days shooting. So we do all this work, and it's only for about 2 days.
What is this part of the coat, I think, that I've made red?
I think that would be safer being part of the underdress in a way.
I very scrupulously avoided fashion in the first 3 movies. I got around it, I just avoided it. But I'm discovering more and more in this one. You know, I walked right into fashion on this one, and I have not balked, so I'm going to be faced with it. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. So this is red, and then this is red. It's pretty intense.
Now, the major change from talking to George last night, quite like this dress to be an absolute cross-cut tube dress.
Oh, right, without
So that is a major, without any fullness, so it's
what a
quite
shame.
slinky. But I think you quite like the idea of being able to see through it.
Yes, well, it is lovely, isn't it?
Yeah. I've asked if George could come at the end of lunch and have a look at it, so that you can just sort of see it before we get it completely finished. Mike, could you maybe hold this for me?
Yeah.
I'll just drop that down a bit.
Yep, I think that looks good. Very good.
We got the effect that George wanted, which was a wedding dress that would be symbolic of happiness, possibly an ongoing relationship, perhaps. We're now about 4 or 5 weeks from the end of filming. We're still working and making costumes to be used next week, the week after.
And again, please.
And again, if you wouldn't mind. We made well over 1,000 costumes.
We needed an R2 that could actually go in very deep sand. We needed an R2 that could work in light sand. We needed an R2 that could go over door jams. But I think something in the fundamental design of that three-legged character has always been a difficult process.
R2 units are astrodroids. They're a spaceship mechanic that just goes along to fix the ship if it breaks down. R2-D2 has always been a problem, and it takes a lot of very clever engineering to make him reliable and make him do the things that he has to be able to do.
All we're doing is we're bringing him up to date inside, because when you look in here, it's amazing. It's a trip into the museum almost, because all this 20 years ago. We're also going to get the weight lower. He was top heavy before, which I think caused him to tend to want to fall over quite easily. Yeah. So. We now have 7 R2-D2s, which can run on either the sand or on the stage, plus 1 Kenny Baker one, plus 1 we call the pneumatic one, which means it can go from 2 legs to 3 legs. R2-D2 actually, loving little creature that he is, turned into quite a nightmare for us. Now the first sets that we were on were Anakin's hovel, which meant R2 had to come in from outside, and the floor was uneven, so that was causing him to skid off at various angles, making him very difficult to control. The sand was getting in the chains and just locking the motors up, and they were shearing shafts and gearboxes.
Day by day, we were getting frustrated. You know, and it's one thing when you're dealing with an actor, you may do 4, 5, 6, 7 takes, but when you have a character that's been around for 20 years, that is run by a pretty simple mechanism, you expect him to be able to work.
Cut.
Cut.
I have bad droid karma. On Jedi, the droids just were perfect. R2 could do anything. He was amazing. We had 15 of them, and he went out in the forest. He went in the forest, in the desert, everywhere. And action.
Action.
Cut.
Cut.
Yeah, I think we'll give up on this.
Halfway through, George was pretty frustrated by having to wait around for R2. And it frustrated all of us because we'd spent so much effort and time and money trying to get him to be right. It was at that point when I said, okay, let's just do a huge event. Let's try and create the final R2, the R2 that can last forever. ILM did one version, and then our special effects department in England did another version. It wasn't a spare no expense experiment, but it was an experiment to see if 2 different groups of people could come up with some kind of mechanism to allow him to be a little bit more reliable.
We got 2 wheelchair motors that could push 440 pounds and created a new one, the Uber R2.
We produced a completely different foot and motor drive system to get him to run on sand. And we got him running quite nicely in Tunisia.
Is this the American one?
Yeah.
I'll just have to run him over and wreck it, otherwise he put me out of business. This is the other R2, is it?
Yes.
And they both, without consulting each other, came up with their own design, which was very similar. Finally, we have the definitive R2 who can do just about anything now. He can go through the sand, over door jams, he can move quickly, but sadly, life isn't perfect. We still have people who have to operate R2 by radio control.
Hello, Daddy, Captain.
Cut.
Cut.
Good morning, ladies, gentlemen, good morning. Chorus people, welcome to you. Thank you for coming. Welcome to this process of making Star Wars. Our director is back in the booth here somewhere, is George Lucas. And I'll thank you for him also. Glad you're here. We're going to begin today's work with the woodwind setting at 33. Just winds, please, 33. 1, 2, 3. You know what I think I would like better if the contra plays first and third beat only, and short. Do it again, please, people. 1, 2, 3, 4.
On the original films, I was looking for somebody who really understood classical movie scoring. And I was talking to Steve Spielberg about it, and he had worked with Johnny on Jaws and said, you know, this is the man for you. He's perfect. He really understands that medium. And once I worked with him on Star Wars, you know, I wouldn't have anybody else doing it.
I've been uniquely fortunate to continue to accompany George on this great journey that he's on.
which seems now to be a life's work journey. He probably rang me a year ago to tell me that the time was coming, that his script was going to be ready, and that he was about ready to shoot the film, and that the music would be needed by such and such a time in the calendar. And then I would get another phone call 2 or 3 months later, and he would fix a spotting date where we go in a dark room and talk about where the music is going to go and what it should do, etc.
Then it goes from that into religioso force.
Yeah.
It just has to be something that kind of says, we're fighting back now. But I think we need to keep that kind of fighting back theme going to keep the energy up.
The great sword fight at the end of the film, the decision to make that choral was just the result of my thinking that it should have a kind of ritualistic or quasi-religious feeling to it, if you like. And that the introduction of a chorus might be just the thing.
1, 2, 3. People, I think always kura, ratama, all of that. I've chosen these Sanskrit words because of the quality of the vowels. Do it again, please. See how pure a choral sound you can get. Don't force it. So. That's better.
And the medium of chorus and orchestra would give us a sense that we're in a big temple.
It's a wonderful piece of music with the choir and the whole. It's very operatic and very much like Star Wars. Johnny really understands movie music. It's not just music laid in there, it actually tells the story.